It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. The Uniden America Studios. This is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. Stolen America.
I didn't do it.
Did you see that Native American tribe? Saw it on Fox News yesterday with the statement out.
Yeah.
Verifying that
that's our ancient land.
That Billie's house is on
her $3.1 million house.
I thought it was 10.
Is it 10? I saw 3.1 million.
Well, that's, what is that, 500 square feet?
I don't know. Maybe a Trump judge assessed it.
All right. That's a flashback to the past.
Look up
when we say
look
Trump
up judge valuation on Mar-a-Lago, and then Mar-a-Lago, and you'll see.
Right. We were, when we said Trump judge, we weren't talking about a judge that Trump nominated.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And we have to clarify so many things.
But they put out a statement saying, yes, this is our land, and we have not heard from her yet. Yeah. And we are awaiting to have a conversation with her.
Yeah. Yeah, we're waiting.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
What a
just crazy.
What a day. I mean, what a crazy day it was yesterday. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just, back and forth and back and forth. And now you see Thune saying that, Senator Thune saying, oh, there's no way we're going to get the Department of Homeland Security funded in 13 days. That's not happening.
No.
But they can't even decide how to negotiate. This isn't going to, basically saying DHS is going to be closed down.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I didn't see it going anywhere. And last week, you had a couple of senators, Democrats, and one or two Republicans saying, and we're not going to get health care done until we get that done. And I thought, well, you won't get health care done then. And if that's the case, if they're going to stick to that, wow, it's going to be a wild year.
Oh, it is.
It's going to be a crazy year. And we're here at a midterm. I was looking at the breakdown of District 9 in Texas, right? Mm-hmm. Because Pete Sessions, who was a congressman in Texas, his district used to be right here. He moved to another district. But he was saying, I did not see this over the weekend, but I saw it in a story yesterday. And he was saying, well, we had ICE and, and not the enforcement agency. We had an ICE. We got to clarify everything. We had an ice storm. And I thought, well, that could have only affected early turnout. And sure enough, I looked it up in the numbers. All right. And, because he said, a lot of things could have happened. But he did finally get around to, Republicans need to be aware that there could be a shift and this could be a signal of a shift. And I thought, oh, all right. Okay. Fair enough. But then I looked at the early voting numbers, and the early voting numbers were down 20% in the runoff as opposed to November, the special election. And I thought, well, but they're going to be down that's just the trend. When you get to the runoff, any runoff is lower than the previous election typically, especially if it's in January and there's nothing else going on the ballot, right? That's the other thing. It doesn't draw to the ballot. There's nothing else to draw people to the ballot. So I did the numbers and I thought, well, nope, it still doesn't, even with the lower turnout and early voting, it still doesn't favor the Republican. Wamscons. And so when you look at the scenario, it's like, okay, I don't know what they weren't doing, what they weren't promoting. But it doesn't change between now and November, because if the same two will go, if they're using this as everybody's saying, all right, this could be an indication of what happens in November for the Republican Party. Now, keep in mind, this is a state senator race, right?
Right.
But it was a GOP stronghold for 45 plus years. And so, all right, so then you look at it, and I was thinking to myself, the first thing I thought was, well, it's also a metro area, right? Metro areas are changing pretty quickly. Now, it is Fort Worth, and Cowtown, as they call it, has been strong red. That district, very strong red. Then you get into what would change between now and then? Now and November. Well, prices have to adjust if it's prices, because I saw a couple of other Republicans saying, no, look, we're going to have to do something about prices. I forget who it was. I think it was somebody else from Texas here saying that the Republican Party has to be focused on prices. And if they're not, and I thought to myself, it's too late. How many people were, including us, were screaming this last year? We were screaming it at about this time last year, and then others were writing it in different articles that you brought to us in the fall, saying, you've got to get it done. You got to get it done now. Whatever you're going to do, you got to get it done now. And I thought to myself, you can lead a Republican to water. You can't make him drink. It's, you and I have gone blue in the face in over 20 years. It'll be 21 years this summer together. And then before that, separately, we've been doing this for decades. It's not that hard. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. It's not that hard. There are things you can't that are within your power that you can come in, implement a plan, and you can make it happen. And there are other things are never going to happen. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Work, get the results, and let those results do all your heavy lifting.
Yeah, you don't have to tell the American public that their economy is better.
Right. You just don't see it.
They know it.
Yes. If you do the work and you get the results, positive results, then that's the heavy lifting. You won't have to advertise it. It's like toilet paper. I saw a comedian the other day. It's an old joke, but it's like, is there really a need to advertise toilet paper? But those are the things that are very basic, should be very basic. And we're talking about the process, the political process in terms of campaigning. What you can actually get across to people, what you can actually deliver on. These are not hard things. These are not difficult things to figure out.
Do you think my sense is, again, I'm not inside the White House, but my sense is they're believing their internal polls.
Something has happened in recent days. And you and I have been talking, I think, over the last couple of nights in our pre-show meeting tonight and yesterday we were talking. There's something coming back with internals. I don't know if those internals are coming from Capitol Hill and they're taking them to the White House, or if the White House is getting their own internals, or both. They're constantly doing internals, and during a campaign season, during any time there's going to be an election in November, those internals are coming back hard, and they're constantly looking at those internals to see what they are. I hope there is not a tendency to work against those internals, and that would be, again, the idea of telling people that they're bank account isn't doing what their bank account is doing. In other words, they're not in, hey, don't worry about that. The economy's great. Prices are coming down when people are paying more. And, those are things you can't do. And if your internals are coming back hard on a number of fronts, and it feels like right now, if I were to put $1 on that bet, or any bet, it would be that the internals are coming back, I believe, for the GOP on Capitol Hill, for the party itself, and I think also at the White House. It's one of the two or both, but I believe it's actually both, that they're seeing things because there are moves in recent days that show we've really got to get our message. We got to get our stuff in a group, and we've got to make sure we get our message out. And it's one message. It's a solid message. Now, here's the problem. Wow, we're only 9 months from the election. We're only 9 months out. Wow, is it today? 9 months out today?
It's the fourth.
Yeah. So here we are. You got 9 months. That's not a lot of time. And between now and then, you've got a decision coming down from SCOTUS on, we think, on tariffs. And I don't know which way that's going to go. And I don't know how the White House will react to either decision for them or against them. And that's, again, those are things that are going to line everything out. But the reality is likely not to change because there's nothing between now and then that you can do. They're not going to write tariff checks to people. That's not going to happen.
Well,
that's
it's not even that. Back in a second, what really got me was the stories out yesterday, mostly source stories, that the visible presence is going to be gone in Minneapolis of the feds.
Yeah.
What's it? Holman is speaking tomorrow morning press conference at 9:00.
Yeah.
If that type of reversal makes me believe that they have looked at polling and said, and I think probably paid attention to Holman, because Holman, if anybody understands it, Holman's been in the business so long, he understands, look, we can get illegal immigrants out of the country that the vast majority of them, let's work at that, but the American public doesn't like to see riots in the street. No matter what, they don't want to see riots in the street.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. We've talked about the fact that, what was it, 57%, 57 and close to 60% of people want all illegal immigrants out. Some polls say higher, and that's fine, but the American public, you have to understand, is fickle. They don't like to see violence in the street, and we're talking mostly about independents here and maybe moderate Republicans.
Yeah, and that's my thought on the internals that are coming back. I think it's on every front. I think it includes that. And that's what I was saying. It has to be changing everything basically that's coming back in a big way negatively for you, and we're seeing that.
Well, when you I really believe that I'm tending to believe that what happened in Minneapolis is actually what people inside the White House, like Stephen Miller, wanted. That they believed that if they showed the American public the left going crazy about them enforcing federal law and doing what the people of the United States told Trump they want him to do, that the violence would backfire against the left.
No, I think that's true. I think that's And I don't know if it's just Stephen Miller. I think there are others.
I'm
that
using
thought that.
using him as the point guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, he's the face of it.
Right.
He's kind of the lead guy. Yeah, the point guy. So, but it's, and I think that's the case because at one point, maybe I don't know, a year ago. By the way, the shootings notwithstanding, we're talking about the agitators being out there, being in the face of agents.
Right.
The shootings stand separately, but overall, they're part of the bigger picture because that's what the liberal activist media is focused on, and that's what they're using as leverage in terms of the emotions surrounding it. And the problem is that you don't want war in your own streets. We've seen this before. We've seen the left, back in the summer of love and all of that garbage and mostly peaceful protests and everything else. And it comes down to this. We saw it. In all these blue cities, their leaders not only didn't care, but encouraged that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we need to protect agents. I believe what happened in Los Angeles was the right thing to do. You're going to have to protect agents if it gets to that point. But you're not, long term, you're not going to win it. It can't be this ongoing battle. And I have to wonder what's going on with the agents and morale inside the agency. I have to wonder what, the rank and file believe. And by the way, they're there to take orders. They don't get to vote. It doesn't work that way. But morale is a huge issue. And I do wonder what it's like right now based on everything else and the fact that their lives are in danger all the time. Is there a better approach, a more direct approach, where they can do their job and minimize those risks?
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. The driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You think about it. The SAVE Act that the Republicans are going to be pushing, and the Democrats are out there bluntly saying nope. Voter ID is racist. You shouldn't have to prove that you're an American citizen to vote in American elections. I mean, it's just bizarre. And then CNN, we'll have some audio coming up following the bottom of the hour, did the polling, and the polling's even greater than it was before. Yeah. 83% of Americans want voter ID. 76% of blacks.
Yeah. Look, it's been strong for a while.
Right.
And remember when they were using the excuse on the left, they were using the excuse that, no, because it's going to hurt voter turnout. And then after it was enacted, and
Georgia,
it went from Georgia, I think Wisconsin, another place. It was like, nope. Turnout was actually up after voter ID went into place.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi, download our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when and where you choose.
It's free.
Yes. No payment. No payment for 90 days.
That's right. No payment for a lot of days.
So, Chuck Schumer out there having to prove you're an American citizen and having photo ID is Jim Crow 2.0.
Okay.
Here we go again.
I thought we already had Jim Crow 2.0. I thought that was the Georgia election laws. Remember?
Oh, this should be 3.0.
3.0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where he's wrong.
He's always taking the burger off early, putting the cheese on the burger too soon.
This is CNN.
Yeah. All right.
All right. CNN, Harry Anton going through the polling on photo ID. Here we go.
Okay.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino. 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID.
Well, you know, the fact that Nicki Minaj is now the point person for photo ID.
I always thought celebrities didn't need IDs. You know, it's like, I'm Nicki Minaj. It's something we've been talking about for years. All the points that the left tried to make against voter ID. It's going to hurt turnout. At first it was, well, people will be disenfranchised because there are people that are too poor to afford photo ID, right?
Yep.
And then certain states like ours, I don't know how many states did it, but our state did it. Well, if you're indigent, we can help you. We can give you assistance if you need a state-issued ID. We will help you get one. And then it was, I don't know what. It was going to, again, hurt voter turnout. It's going to hurt voter turnout. And then you saw time after time, every time it was introduced into a new place as policy, that the results went up. The turnout went up. It increased.
Yeah.
And you started getting the polls back, and it was like, oh, no, we like voter ID. We think voter ID is great. We understand the idea behind it. It's a very basic idea. You need to prove that you are who you say you are, and you should be an American citizen if you're voting.
Now, you have to ask yourself the next question. Why would Democrats go absolutely ballistic and continue to say something that they've been saying? Wow, I've been doing this now for over 37 years. They've been doing this for 37 years since I've been a radio talk show host, saying that photo ID is racist. And think about how they've pounded it. Think about the advertising that they have done over and over and over. Every single liberal organization.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the most, you ever see if you watch any type of streaming, the ACLU's always throwing out that they must be having trouble because, they're running those paid ads constantly.
Yeah.
Those are paid ads. Those aren't public service announcements.
Right.
And they're absolutely misinforming the American public as to what they're about.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, voting rights. There isn't one stinking voting right that's gone. And the American public knows it. You see, you don't get polling numbers for this on anything.
No.
So why are the Democrats doing it? What's the process of elimination? Why would you fight so hard when even landslide number of Democrats don't agree with you? Why would you do it? What's the process of elimination? Why would the Democrats take a stand on something that the American public has been consistently passionate about, and they view as something that's normal. Well, yeah, we need to know who's voting. Yeah, we need voter ID. Yeah, none of us want fraud. Democrats by landslide numbers. Democrats that can't even tell you what a woman is. Democrats. This is going to be interesting too. We'll get to this. The plastic surgeons now are one of the biggest organizations for plastic surgeons. We're advising that nobody does any type of, and they use the term gender affirming care, which was blasted or whatever, teenage whatever.
Yeah.
The dumb things that they attempt to justify. Well, one lawsuit there. But Democrats who will take the most outrageous, insane positions are taking a position, because even that, the majority doesn't believe in that, but even that has more support in Democrats letting men compete against women, has more support from Democrats. Has less support. Wait a minute, is it less or more? Less support from Democrats, more support from Democrats for voter ID.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No,
So-
they're full on there. And,
Right.
it got so bad at one time that it was working for a moment. It was working against them. And that's when Warnock in Georgia came out and said, I don't even know any Democrats that are against voter ID.
Yeah, it was hilarious because all Democrats were against voter ID.
Yeah.
Well, what's the process of elimination? What would it be? Let's examine this. I mean, what are we missing that Democrats want that they wouldn't support a bill that landslide number, vast majority of Democrats are passionate about consistently over the last couple of decades? Why wouldn't they agree with the vast majority of their own party? Would it be because they want illegals to vote? What's the other reason?
It's the only reason.
Nobody's buying that it's racist anymore.
Defund ICE and no voter ID.
Yeah. Where does it lead to? What would the other reason be? Because you have numbers that are as high as they can possibly be on a particular issue. Minorities, they don't believe voter ID is racist at all.
No.
And so, yeah, you can sit there and you can find, more Democrats that will say, we can't define a woman, and, a man should be able to compete with a woman. But on this issue, it's landslide numbers against.
Well, but here's the question.
And that's the reason.
Are they trying to change the poll numbers? Remember with Obamacare? Obama was lying to Democrat rank and file. He wasn't lying to Republicans. You can keep your doctor. You can keep your plan.
Right.
Because there were no Republican representatives that were going to vote for it.
Yeah.
You had to convince enough of the Democrats who had power at that time to get it done, which means you've got to convince their constituents. Are they attempting here to sway the poll? They know what the polls are showing. There's no doubt that Chuck knows that they're not winning this right now in the polls. The only thing I can think of is they're making an attempt to change the poll numbers.
But they've never been able to do that.
No.
Over decades, they haven't been able to do that.
It only grows against them
right.
Year by year.
I think these numbers are higher than any numbers I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think so.
Because 83%, I thought it was like I remember major polling done on it maybe a couple of years ago, and it was like 78, 79%.
Yeah, I was going to say in the mid-70s.
And so the point is, if you can, we've seen in different issues, you will look at it and it will say, would you rather do this or rather do that? And people will be more conservative and say, we want to do that. you attach Trump's name to it, it's down 15 to 20 points. So people will be against something that they're actually for if Trump's name is attached to it, but not this. Not voter ID. In fact, it's gone the other way. So for decades, they've been trying to sell that it's racist. They haven't been able to succeed. Then they went, well, wait a minute. If Trump's for it, we'll get more people against it. And it's done the opposite. And they keep pushing something that nobody is buying. Nobody is buying, well, excuse me, only a very small minority of people. When you look at issues out there, you never get it because it's 83% of Americans overall on voter, on photo voter ID.
Right.
And again, it's like when they do the whole thing with somebody has to bring their birth certificate. No, you have photo ID. And for example, anybody who has a license now in the United States, they know you're a U.S. citizen by that.
Right.
That's how you can fly. With the enhanced license, you had to go through the process of at one point showing them a copy of your birth certificate that they approved of.
Yeah. Right.
So, and I had to do it last year. I got the passport and I got the license. And I don't know if, since I had an enhanced license, so I didn't have to show the birth certificate this time, but I actually went and got it. I just ordered it, and mine's from Buffalo, and had it within 3 days.
Yeah.
And was able to take care of it. And the cost was insignificant.
Right. Yeah, I had everything with me when I went. My birth certificate, Social Security card, parole papers, all of it. It was all in line.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were going to need.
Yeah, they didn't need any from me because I had an enhanced license, and then I got a passport right around. I renewed my passport, and it was in that time period. It had expired. It was in the time period where they just said, "No, just give us a passport," and boom,
yeah, right.
You're done. You're in the system already. But I did have to at one point, have a copy of my birth certificate for them in order to get that. The American public understands it completely. Right. It's not even. It's the one thing. You think about it. It's the one thing where there's no controversy.
You know what I think's changing the numbers that where the numbers are going up? Identity theft.
That's a great point.
Because it's so much easier for the bad guys. Well, they have greater opportunity. I'll say this. Greater opportunity right now than ever to steal your identity. And that freaks people out. Saw a comedian, someone stole my identity. But then a few days later, my credit score went up, so I'm just letting it ride. But I think that awareness of it, I don't know how freaked out people are, how greatly concerned, but I think everybody is concerned to a certain extent about identity theft. And I think that's part of it. It's, okay, look, I've got to be able to prove who I am, but I want people to know that this is me and that somebody else, it isn't me. I think that's a part of it. I think it's a part of the entire comprehension of it because it's everywhere. The entire there's some, I don't know, it's a multi-billion-dollar business to protect you from identity theft. And I think that helps with the awareness of it and the basic understanding of what's going on here.
We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So the message to Republicans is focus on the voter ID.
Yeah.
For the next 2 weeks.
Right.
Pound it and pound it and pound it. Because the American public is already behind you. And if you say, as we did, well, what reason would they be saying all this stuff, which they've been saying for decades, which nobody buys into, even minorities? That's because they want illegal immigrants to vote.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's been the case. And everybody knows that.
Yeah.
It's the reason they want open borders. It's the reason they want to defund ICE. You know, this is the entire purpose. And create sanctuary cities, and then we'll create our own laws as a state, and, you know, we'll do everything we can to get them on the voter rolls. And this is part of the effort.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. All right, so, man, I'm telling you, I just went, wow, when I saw this story today. Something that you and I said a long time ago. I don't remember how many years ago it was. But we said what will stop the radical transgender movement push for children having their bodies mutilated by adults would eventually be lawsuits.
Yep.
And we said this is an easy lawsuit.
Yeah.
And when you saw the other day, the lawsuit where the one young woman who had a double mastectomy when she was 16, her mother approved it. And then a few years later, when she becomes an adult, she says, nope, I'm a woman. You had the wrong diagnosis. That's malpractice. I did not have gender dysphoria. How do you prove it?
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Especially since the left says, and remember, this was started by Obama. Obama started this. Obama started that, it's a social construct.
Yeah.
He's the one he's the one he talked about race being a social construct and then gender being a social construct.
Mm-hmm.
But that was out there all the time, so you can be whatever you want and you can change here, and nobody should ever question you.
Right.
You shouldn't be questioned. What you say you are, so you cannot make the diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Because if it's temporary, it's temporary, and now you're not. Well, if you have, and I've seen figures as high as 15 to 20% of people that change their mind, that believe they're transgender, you can't deal with those lawsuits in the medical profession. You cannot have that rate of lawsuits and succeed.
No.
So what happened yesterday? The American Society of Plastic Surgeons came out against transgender surgeries for minors, arguing a position statement that irreversible medical procedures for individuals with gender dysphoria should be delayed until the patient is at least 19 years old. They cited growing uncertainty about the benefits of medical and surgical interventions for transgender use and assessments that have identified limitations in study quality, consistency, and follow-up alongside emerging evidence of treatment complications and potential harms in its latest guidance. The ASPS concludes there is insufficient evidence demonstrating, by the way, they're saying there's insufficient evidence, which means there was less evidence yesterday, the day before, a year ago, 5 years ago, when they were doing these surgeries.
Right, and they used the words earlier, they used the words growing uncertainty. Not growing, it was there from the beginning.
Right.
It was definitive that it was uncertain, which is why you don't perform it on children.
The ASPS concludes there is insufficient evidence demonstrating a favorable risk-benefit ratio for the pathway for gender-related surgical interventions in children and adolescents. The ASPS recommends that surgeons delay gender-related breast, chest, genital, and facial surgery until the patient is at least 19 years old. ASPS, which represents more than 11,000 physicians worldwide, found evidence suggesting a substantial portion of children that claim they have gender dysphoria experience resolution or significant reduction of distress by the time they reach adulthood, absent medical or surgical intervention. The organization also cited an article from the Department of Health and Human Services from last year, which found the rapid expansion and implementation of a clinical protocol for pediatric transgender medicine, that it lacks sufficient scientific and ethical justification. Well, good God, we knew that.
Of course.
All this we knew. Now, if you're a plastic surgeon with that, that's more evidence if you perform that surgery now. That's more evidence for the prosecution to use against you.
Oh, yeah. I don't, again, I don't know how you don't have the entire law group, because these medical corporations, these hospital systems, they have an entire floor of nothing but lawyers dealing with malpractice. How this wasn't a red flag across the board in the industry from day one. Saying, no, we're not performing elective surgery, irreversible, on children, ever.
Hey, we're not medical lawyers, and the two idiots overnight figured that out a long time ago.
It's so stupid that it's beyond comprehension how it ever happened, how there was ever any consideration. You know, in their statement, growing uncertainty. Nope, that's uncertainty has been a solid uncertainty from the beginning. You have no idea what this will do when this person becomes an adult. Because the defense for doing it, the justification for doing it, performing the surgery and irreversible treatments is, well, they're hurting right now. And if we don't do this, they won't have a quality of life. But no consideration for the opposite, for the flip side of that coin?
Well, the fact is they didn't have evidence either way.
Right.
This was
right.
This was political intimidation.
That's my point.
That was the evidence.
They used that as justification. They said it was evidence. That's not evidence and justification.
And we ask, where the hell were the lawyers in all this? And they weren't listening. Those lawyers weren't listening to us.
No.
Because I don't even know, how long ago was it? 6, 7 years ago?
At least, yeah.
We said this is, by the way, the lawsuits will eventually hit. Somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute. This is the reason. And the reason that this woman won was not based on the fact that she was a minor.
No. There was a malpractice suit.
It's a malpractice suit that, they said gender dysphoria, and hey, it was a temporary thing for me. And they said I needed to get a double mastectomy. And they told my mother, and hey, I'm not a transgender.
Right.
Well, just when you look at the vulnerability of any doctor or hospital doing that some lawyer didn't figure that out and said, we can't do this because the left's out there promoting already, well, really the science doesn't matter here. All that matters is what that person wants and what that person wants now. The left has admitted it's a mental illness that they have. Throw that on top of it, too.
Right.
Well, these people commit suicide if you don't do it. Well, we don't know if this is actually going to work. And now, you could have someone right now that believes they are the opposite sex and went through this and doesn't regret it, but they know they can make millions of dollars.
Oh, I thought about that.
Just by coming out and saying, I'm not transgender anymore.
Right.
Even if they are.
Then you can't tell them one way or the other.
Right.
All they have to do is come back and say, I made a mistake. And boom. Payday.
Right.
The lawsuits will be endless.
And the left set themselves up for it by coming out because remember the whole thing of the floating. Well, you'd be you floating gender then. You're floating.
Right.
You're going between one and another.
Right. Right.
Well, when that came out, any lawyer,
and it wouldn't matter who signed what. It doesn't matter what disclaimer was signed at all because who takes the lead in a situation like this? Who takes the lead? Those responsible for the treatment and or surgery. Always.
In our pre-show meeting, you brought up a great point. There are people out there that believe that are actually into the mutilation fetish of believing they shouldn't have arms.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Right.
And
it's a different type of dysphoria, but it's
right.
Nonetheless, it's a situation where they believe they should be or are an amputee when they're not.
Right.
And there is nothing wrong in terms of functionality with any of their limbs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's next? Are you going to do that surgery because that person wants that? Because when we get back to it, what is this? This is elective surgery because somebody wants it.
Right.
And then the activists in this, which includes some of the surgeons, take it and run with it and say, no, it's necessary because it will do harm if we don't do the surgery.
Right. It might do harm.
Well, they can't prove it, but
right.
They have to make the point at the point of surgery, at the point they made the decision, they have to say it will do harm. That's the only way to justify it. That, no, we're going to have to do this. It's necessary.
Well, the mother said that in this case that they brought up. The part of the defense, not the mother, part of the defense was she could have committed suicide.
Right.
If we didn't do this.
Right. That deems it necessary. And the fact is, there is no way. And here's the other thing. You're saying that on one side, and on the other side, no consideration for if you're wrong. Which, of course, they were. None?
And then you're sitting in a jury listening to this, and you're saying to yourself, this is a psychological thing.
Yes.
There's a psychological problem. There's a mental health problem here. And the last thing you do with the mental health problem with a child is start mutilating their body.
Right.
And when you had the left say, you can't question this. Whatever they say they are, whenever they say they are, is what they are.
And you must act, and you must be part of it. And again, you look at the responsibility here of the medical professionals who are part of this. They take the lead. Because once you've got the go-ahead from the doctors, well, then it must all be true.
Right.
This is, again, the claim in this case and would be the claim in any case like this.
But the political push, as we've talked about, was you can be a male today and a female tomorrow.
Yes.
Well, if I'm a lawyer, that's a red flag right there.
Right.
Well, no, you can, or the insurance companies, if you wish to do this, fine. Your malpractice insurance just went from $1,000 a month to $1 million a month.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing something that science doesn't back up any of it.
Right.
You're talking about you're doing medical procedures based on feelings that could change in an instant, and the political left is insistent that it can change. So if you do something to this minor or anyone else, because it isn't just for minors now.
No.
This can be anybody. You could be 23.
Oh, yeah.
You're 23, 24, 25, 30 years old.
Right.
And get it done and then reverse yourself and say, okay, I was going through some major problems. Give me $10 million.
Well, because at any point in life, by default, you have less experience than later in life. It doesn't matter adult or not. Well, when I was 25, I didn't have the same experience I do now. Now I'm 40. And now I know. And now through things that I've learned, through psychologists who have helped me, whatever it is, I no longer believe that, and I believe this was malpractice. The lawsuits are going to be an Everest of a mountain in terms of the pile of them. And we're just beginning.
We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Southeast Quadrant freeze event concerns continue. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says recovery from the late January ice storm in parts of the Mid-South remains.
We still have more than 100,000 customers nationwide, mostly focused across Mississippi and Tennessee, that are still without electricity.
While Florida deals with a weekend freeze event,
which is currently experiencing its most significant freeze and cold outbreak in about 16 years, going all the way back to January 2010.
The cold outbreak causing citrus, winter produce, and sugarcane growers to be busy with protection efforts, more challenging due to high winds.
Traditional protection methods like sprinkler systems, mists of water that can coat strawberries and citrus fruits and trees with ice to help insulate the crops and the fruits. That was somewhat less effective than usual because of the high winds. That can cause some one-sided icing, that it doesn't evenly coat the fruits with ice.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Here at Red Eye Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Then this story came out yesterday. Children's Minnesota announced Tuesday that it will temporarily pause prescribing puberty-suppressing medications and hormones to patients under the age of 18 in its gender health program. God.
Gender health.
Jeez.
All right.
Gender-affirming care, the mutilation or drugging of transgender youth remains legal in Minnesota, and the program at Children's Minnesota is still operational, according to the hospital's statement. However, the Trump administration continues to use various methods to restrict access to the care. Care.
Yeah. Yeah.
These threats jeopardize the stability of Minnesota's only comprehensive pediatric health care system. They also wrote here, a spokesperson said, the hospital wrote in a statement this was not the decision Children's Minnesota wanted to make, but felt it was necessary to protect its providers and the hospital healthcare teams that have been in direct contact with families. The hospital remains committed to advocating for the dignity and well-being of the patients and families who trust us with their care and stand firmly behind the fact that gender-affirming care is evidence-based. Wow. Safe and life-saving for transgender and gender-diverse youth. They've just hurt themselves for a future lawsuit right there.
Yep.
I'm amazed.
That's a false statement because you can't make that statement in a definitive way.
No.
There's no way you can make that statement.
Wow. If the victim changes their mind, you've lost your evidence.
It's over.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I wonder if the mainstream media is covering that story yet.
On the lawsuit?
On the lawsuit, because it's a huge story. Because this really, we always said it, that lawsuits are what's going to stop this. And when you see how they argued the case, the evidence is what the person who claims to have been transgender and now is not, they're the evidence.
Yeah.
Their opinion is the evidence.
Yeah.
There is no other evidence.
No.
And when the political intimidation of the radical transgender movement is you can be whatever you want whenever you wish to. One day you can be one gender, the next day the next gender. That's the kind of stuff juries look at and say, you're making this stuff up. This seems like a mental problem, and you're saying the solution is something that you have no idea, something that is permanent, the mutilization of children, or I won't say children here because the case was actually a person. The mutilation of their bodies is what they absolutely need, and the evidence you have is what she said, and now she's saying this. Therefore, you shouldn't have done this because there's no clear science involved here.
Yeah, it's
just...
In fact, there's more evidence of people going through transitions and detransitioning. If you ever need any kind of basis for setting the risk of performing irreversible surgery or treatment, then it is the list of individuals who have detransitioned.
Right.
That's it.
Yep.
Because you can't say, there is no way to say for certain that's not going to happen to this person.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't even know where you would put the odds, but it's not an odds thing. It's only, is there a possibility this individual at some point would live to regret this? And the answer is yes.
And the political portion, which has driven this all, it's politics that drove it, is actually hurting their own case because they're saying you can be whatever gender you want when you want and nobody should question it.
Yeah.
That's the position of the people that are doing the surgeries.
Right.
Well, my God, legally, you're stepping into a... It's like somebody came to us and just said, look, you can lie about anybody. You can call this person a rapist. You can call this person a murderer, and it's going to be fine. Why?
Right.
Well, because the political establishment right now, this prosecutor probably won't go after you for it because he hates those people that you're attacking.
Right.
Okay, fine. Next prosecutor comes in. Your career's done.
Right.
But you wouldn't do it no matter what because you're not worried about a prosecutor. What you're worried about is the civil suits.
And again, it's assessing the risk going forward. There's no way to say, in this case, that this person will never live to regret it.
Right.
You can't say that. There's no way to say it and be accurate. The question is, could this person at some point in their life regret this? The answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, will they regret it? It's, could they? And the answer is yes. And once you've gotten there, everything else is off the table because you're setting everything up. Imagine the cases because, what was the award here? 2 million? 2.1 million? 2.1?
It was over 2 million. Yeah.
So you look at that, and now the number of cases, I think there will be, in terms of awards, I think there will be cases with bigger awards. And I don't even know you get to a class action thing because I think each individual is going to go through their own, because the class action, if you think about a massive class action, right, and there's a settlement with a hospital system or something, or a group of surgeons or whatever it might be.
Wow.
I don't know that it ever even gets to that because...
Wow. No, but I just thought of that. Are we going to be seeing the commercials?
Oh, we might. We might. Yeah. But I think the majority of the cases will be individual cases going directly after individual surgeons or hospitals.
Why not try a class action suit for anybody who's been involved? Or you're a lawyer firm that specializes. One of your specialties is this.
I think the lawyer firms would love it, and that's the reason why I think
it's a revenue
if an individual is looking for it is what an individual is looking for is that direct restitution. They're looking for, because class action suits, historically, the majority of the money, a big chunk of the money, goes to the law firm. And so if you are in a big class action group, you may not get, you may feel like you're not going to get what you deserve in terms of restitution.
Well, it doesn't. They still do ads that aren't part of a class action suit.
I think the lawyers would want it.
And this would be, tell me whether I have a point here or not, because we didn't, as of yesterday, before yesterday, we didn't know this is going to be the topic of discussion. Right. Because we didn't know this was coming down. I didn't even know it was coming down. Yeah. And remember, this was in New York.
Right.
Where this happened, but I forgot what my point was. Darn it.
Well, I think going forward, you're going to see, and it will be very quickly, you're going to see a lot more cases.
That was, thank you. It's almost as if you were reading my mind that I couldn't read myself. This was 2 million. And you've heard some people that have, detransitioned that said that's not enough. Yeah, because if you're saying that the surgery itself is malpractice, if the person says, if the patient victim says it is, and that's the precedent that's been set, and then you have these medical organizations coming out and saying, no, we shouldn't do this, then the punitive damages will continue to go up because, hey, you've been warned you shouldn't do this.
Right.
So you continue to do it knowing that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And therefore the punitive damages keep going up.
Yep.
I don't see how they can continue doing this, and not just for children, even adults.
No, I think there's going to be great consideration for ending this practice altogether. Because the risk is way too great. Think about all the risks and liabilities in the entire medical field, right? I mentioned yesterday opioids. Because of the nature of opioids, and then the fact that so many prescriptions for opioids were being written and everything else, then you had overdoses, you had, all of this, and then there has to be this reconsideration. Well, wait a minute. We have to change what we're doing because of the risk of harm to individuals and possible death. Well, you look at something like this, irreversible damage, and I'm with you. I don't think it's limited to children or to people who have the surgery when they're minors.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be across the board because it is feasible it is logical for somebody to say, I was 30 when I had the surgery. I'm 60 now. I have a much different experience now with everything that's happened in my life or whatever. And through that experience and what I have learned, I have come to learn that I was wrong about that and that mentally I was not in the right place at the right time. You can't tell somebody,
Right.
Well, sorry you were an adult and you made that decision then, because of the nature of mental health altogether.
Right. And the nature of the precedent which was set
Right.
for lawyers by this New York decision, which was not based on the fact that she was a minor.
Right.
It was based on the fact that you can't define gender dysphoria.
Right.
And so she gets to define it.
Right.
So if she changes her mind, sorry, you got to pay.
Right.
God, you and I, years ago, we were just like, we can't believe they're doing this, because we had brought up all these points at the time saying, look at the huge hole they're opening up for civil lawsuits.
It's mind-boggling how anyone ever rubber-stamped this. Even one person in that field. I mean, when you think of the fact that we've been saying it in talk radio for the longest time, we live in a very litigious society. And on civil suits, oh man, wow. It's never ending, right? But companies have to reassess every day. Companies, for a number of reasons, have to assess risk. What's the potential liability? Here's one of the number one rules. If someone from loss prevention is in the break room with you and they ask you how it's going, don't say, well, not great, because we came across a problem. I know this because it happened to a family member, and then loss prevention goes, what do you mean? What kind of problem? And then, because loss prevention isn't just for retail when you talk about, things disappearing off the shelf or things breaking or whatever it might be. It's loss prevention across the board for corporations. And loss prevention is there to mitigate those losses, any kind of losses and any kind of risk. And that is part of, and then, of course, if they get talking to the company lawyers, oh, my gosh, who knows what kind of headaches those folks get, in a meeting like that. Because, again, you have to know what might come at you at any moment. At any moment. This is so basic. And it's in the understanding of the dynamics and the risks here, it just boggles my mind as to how anyone ever approved a procedure for a child or an adult.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We're Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, and by the way, the Republicans are going to take advantage of that lawsuit. Netflix and Warner Brothers executives were in front of the Senate yesterday because of the merger. And that was one of the questions coming up to the Netflix CEO. Josh Hawley brought it up and said, you know, half of your content for children in the shows that they show for children, half of it is the radical transgender movement.
Right.
Why are you doing this? And of course it was, we have no, political motivation for anything. Of course, that, sure didn't fly, but this isn't going to end now.
No.
And you can't, if you're these radical organizations, what are you going to do? This isn't the Trump administration doing it. This is civil litigation,
right? Which
is the victims are people that thought that they were transgender.
Yep. And again, there is no definitive answer here.
No, there isn't.
That they can give.
When you said it, it really hit with me. This, because we had said a long time ago, there's such a big legal hole that civil litigators go, my God, there's a ton of money here for us. It is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's so really incredibly stupid what they did.
It is.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.